Hey folks, how's it going? With Night Crimson behind us and after having secured Lubata, I'm drawing a bit of a blank on which units to save for next, so I guess it's time to pull up the CN wiki and check the upcoming releases. Before we begin though, keep in mind the schedule may vary and some units might get skipped or postponed who knows when, Shaklulu and Kia being the main examples. I hear rumors one might be given away for free eventually, but I'm not going to give them too much credit until I see an official announcement. So let's begin with the Sorcerers Chapter trailer. Lubata will be followed by 3 more units, Estra, Flavia and Team Meteor. This much is for certain. Estra should be coming out on April 25th as a dedicated mage killer, dealing extra damage the lower her target's energy and having access to some fun toys like a personal magic shield, Ron Hook, a 3-tile jump behind skill that also grants her an extra turn if the enemy dies, a follow-up for non-instant skills, and a potential 190% multiplayer skill that ignores reactions. Sounds fairly solid, especially with Lubatas and Kavares running around, and the addition of more mages is only going to make her value go higher. On the other hand, casters are already pretty squishy and hardly need a dedicated anti-mage to bring them down. Her 9 tiles potential threat range does sound nice and she could shut down some casters in PvP if her speed wasn't 160. Since I already have Cole and Safia, as nice as it would be to get her, I won't be spending pulls for her. Flavia comes in as a defender with summons, and that's already enough to pique my interest. She can create grass tiles and increase the healing received to those on top of it, while raising the damage inflicted for the flowers that she summons. These come in 3 different flavors, each with a couple of unique skills. Prickly deals damage, the Bellflower heals and clears, while the Pale Moon can substitute for an ally. All of them can also sacrifice 80% HP in order to give Flavia Undying if she's getting knocked out. Sadly, she can only have 1 flower on the field at a time, but they also inherit her stats. More bodies also means more distractions, and either in PvE or PvP, that alone can cover for quite a bit of damage. Add some extra buffs, shields and debuffs for the enemy, and that's one hell of a nice utility character that I would love to add to my roster. Bonus points for having a really soothing voice too. Lastly, Team Meteor. They come with a unique backup fat mechanic which gives them multiple layers of shields, and the higher the stacks go, the more their skills get buffed. 2 charging skills, multiple pushing skills, and the possibility to stun enemies if they collide after their push. They sound like they might be harder to kill than normal, but they're also a fairly selfish unit. While I do like their dorkiness, I'm afraid they're going to be another easy skip as well. June 1st is going to be an interesting day, cause we should be getting the announcement for the next banner, see if it goes to Shaklulu or Kia, or if they're going to proceed with what seems to be a return to Area chapter. Kia is already playable in chapter 14 and I got to admit I found her really interesting. Being a wielder, of course she has infection, which now interacts with Kavara as well. Her counter healing is also a pretty neat mechanic, and I particularly like her parasitize skill, being able to hide away and then chest burst someone. Her main drawback is the units that follow her, cause from June 6th it's likely that we'll want to save as much as possible for SP Inanna, so she is sadly going to get skipped. The new area chapters will finally see Lutfi become playable, followed by Aisha, who if I remember correctly is Inanna's bodyguard, Aura, a destroyer whose kit revolves around putting enemies to sleep, and finally Sordo Convallaria Inanna. Considering the anniversary is approaching, if we get a Kia banner, that's going to put the SP Inanna release exactly on August 1st. If we don't, the anniversary will see the release of the Dungeon Meshi collab instead. I'm willing to bet they will though. And if the half anniversary with SP Revia is anything to go by, Sordo Convallaria Inanna will be basically guaranteed. Keeping my fingers crossed for a plentiful anniversary, let's go over the units themselves. Lutfi took a while to become playable but should be coming out on June 20th and will be paying his way through battle by bribing the enemy into lowering their stats. He can hire a bodyguard and has a real nice 3 tiles AoE that can pull enemies in and lock their skills, before making him untargetable. Sounds like he could be a pretty disruptive unit if it wasn't for his 167 speed. Don't mind playing around with him, but I'm not gonna be spending pulls on him. Next come Aisha, Inanna's own bodyguard. Her trait turns incoming physical damage into magic and she starts off with fairly high magic defense. Her innate skill lets her designate a target to buff and protect, and as long as she's close to them, she will be covering for them, following damage taken with heals. She gives Unyielding to her protected unit and also brings a Resolve for another teammate. 3 tiles charge with vulnerable 2 and disarm, an instant skill with damage reduction and defense buffs, and her reaction adds more magic defense to her while giving her block and cover for ranged attacks as well. Adding defense and magic attack to her own physical damage might also bring her to dish out some decent numbers. Not sure how to feel about the focus on protecting a single unit, but she does look fairly interesting, and I will likely reshape my opinion of her once I get to try her out. For now, my interest in her sits on moderate. Aura has a pet tapir, 11 out of 10 must pull. If only SP Inanna didn't come right after. Her trait lets her debuff nearby enemies with Nightmare, lowering their inflicted damage and increasing the damage that they take, including piercing. The best part is that this takes effect at the end of her action. If the target already has Nightmare, it is put to sleep and becomes immune to damage for 2 turns. Apparently, this effect can also stack. When it's reapplied, the unit takes 20% piercing damage, and the longer the sleep, the higher the damage the unit takes when they wake up to 400% magic attack, 600% at 5 stars. Complete shutdown from her trait alone. I am in love already. In her skill 3, we see some heals, another sleep plus nightmare, passive buffs but their RNG, a 3 tiles wide AoE that applies her trait effects to everyone while also adding pills vulnerable, and somehow a transformation into a deer that lowers her incoming damage. I absolutely want this caster. She's also beating cavalry speed, clocking in at 275, and if pierce damage still goes through, that's going to be an unholy combo. All she has working against her are SP Inanna and the Dansa collab, but if I can manage my pools, I definitely want to try and get her. And then, there she is. SP Inanna, with one of the most beautiful pieces of art in the entire game. I don't even need to read her skills to know that she's going to be my top priority and the one banner I will have to base my pulls around. But let's do it anyway. She gains free will stacks, which eventually let her use a special skill, buffing 20% damage to allies and letting her act again. When allies use non-instant skills, she stacks battlefield experience for extra attack and damage reduction, 2% per stack, up to 15 stacks, and when at max, she also gains attack command, for a 12% attack buff for all allies. A choice skill lets her deal magic damage in a 3x3 area or push units in a 3x1. She also has Gloria's Race Flag, buffing movement and giving energy. At 216 speed though, this won't affect the likes of Tyr, Kvare and Aura, since it's not auto-casted at the battle start. Her counter skill gives her preempt for 100% magic attack, and if she's defeated with 6 stacks of free will, she procs Resolve, coming back to life with 30% HP and gaining a 90% damage reduction. Another passive lets her buff allies further while also increasing by 1 her push strength. And then we have the banner, increasing attack, defense, damage dealt and reducing damage taken, and stacking for each area or sort of Convallaria character. Once the banner is down, the skill switches to an AoE attack. Looks like Gloria is getting power crabbed, and that's a lot. Hopefully the devs will be generous enough with the anniversary rewards, cause I can't imagine not getting her. Between Inanna and the Dansa collab, there's a little union bird. Mitia is a bow-wielding seeker dealing magic damage. That's a weird combo if I ever saw one. She starts the battle with a magic shield that also slows her attackers down, and she applies black feathers on attack, a special debuff that she can consume to inflict frostbite, the cold version of Ignite. She is the first character to have a maintenance skill, an instant activation that costs energy each turn to apply more black feathers. She carries a freezing trap similar to the ones we see in PvP and multiple passives to keep inflicting frostbite and movement down. Seems alright following all the Pierce vulnerable debuffs that we're getting, but she looks like a bit of a generic damage dealer with little in terms of utility. Might be a fairly easy skip, and I have half a feeling that she might get the Shaklulu treatment as well. The Dungeon Meshi collab should take place at the end of August, with the first character release being Marcille, your standard caster. Her trait gives her stacks of magic, which restores some SP after casting skills and increase their damage. In her skill 3, we see a 1-tile cross 140% damage with buff block, passive magic stack gains with added attack buff and heal, an AoE movement 2 buff with ice and fire tile immunity, an anti-caster preempt that interrupts the attack, and a large AoE that takes 1 turn to prepare, but also inflicts movement down 2 and vulnerable 2 to all enemies under the AoE at the time of casting. Lastly, a 3 range AoE that dispels buffs and ignores 40% of the enemy's defense. She looks alright, especially the movement 2 and vulnerable to AoE skill, and might be a tempting pull if Lubata didn't exist. I'm afraid the main reason to pull for her might be because she's a collab unit and might not be added to the standard pool like everyone else. Coming out only one banner after Inanna means the savings will likely be small as well. I want to wait until we get a proper official announcement for how the collab is going to go before deciding whether to pull for her or not, but for now, she sits on maybe. Senshi will be the first breaker released since Lubata, at a mere 5 months distance. He will summon a pot at battle start that will heal and buff allies near it, taking a page off of Cocoa's book and adding happiness to said buffs. He can buff movement 2 to his allies, then add a crit 2, crit damage 2 buff with a passive, and damage-wise, his Senshi Satisfaction stacks increase the damage he deals by 30% each, but he only has one push skill and some burn attack. Looks more like a tanky support than a damage dealer, like Coco without this lead. Again, if he wasn't a collab unit, I probably wouldn't even take this into consideration for pulling. Lastly, Fallon, a heal-focused watcher. Her trait gives her a stackable magic attack buff when casting skills, and she gives shields to her allies. She can also mark an ally with guardianship for extra buffs and skill interactions. For allies with a shield buff, she follows it up with more basic buffs and damage reduction. Her skill tree starts with a 3-tile AoE heal and clear that also adds a small reactive heal when allies take damage, a 2-time unkillable reaction skill, and then instant 3 tiles AoE that turns debuffs into buffs, while also bringing some debuff immunity. One of her buffs is worded so poorly I can't really make out what it does though. Either lets her guardian cover for other allies, or makes them just take damage in their place, then proceed to get healed and cleared. Following the basic healer archetype, her speed is down to 78. She will likely be the last one to move, which is why spamming clears then healing is going to be very important for her. I can see her being good for some hard mode stages if you manage to not take damage on turn 1, and I really like the extra reactive heal that she brings, but I don't think we're going to be relying on pure sustain units. Between self-heals, buffers who also heal, hybrid supports and heals from tanks, Fallon might fall a bit to the wayside. After the collab, we've got to get ready for a Viking invasion. Rico will hit our shores with the combined power of 1,000 suns. She has no business being this cute, and I'm praying Beryl will join in for whatever event will be going on then. The little menace comes in as an axe-wielded defender with block, jump, immunity to freeze tiles, and a 2 times per round self-heal if she gets injured. She has her own stacking mechanic boosting damage and an innate Dragon Growl skill, an instant cast that lets her jump up to 3 tiles forward to deal AoE damage, vulnerable, and gain a damage boost for the next skill. We are only at her trait and she's already a must pull for me. Her skill 3 has a 30% damage reduction if she's on frost tiles, a 4 tiles push with integrated follow-up adding dispel and stun, an 80% self-heal plus defense buffs, one of which lets her ignore damage taken if it's below 45% of her own HP. A reaction that gives her resolve, 8 stacks of attack and speed 4 for 1 turn, a choice skill for either a long-range massive AoE or a circle massive AoE, each with defense down and heal block, and a leader skill for drifter units. All of this on a supposed tank at 220 speed. I think I just stopped caring about the Dungeon Mesh collab. There will be no need to raid my coffers, I will be handing over my riches willingly. The last unit we can take a look at for the moment is Dansa, another Papal State envoy. Seemingly a caster, she has a 5-star art that goes hard as well. Is she dual-wielding blood swords? Apparently she consumes her own HP to boost her skill specs. Her innate skill is a single target heal and clear that costs 10% HP, but if she lost enough HP to enter her buffed state, it becomes an instant cast. Skill 3 opens with a 30% HP sacrifice to restore 2 energy for an ally and grant them 2 buffs, which adds more energy and reduces its cooldown if powered up. At the end of her turn, she can passively heal allies in a 3-tile radius by 30% of her magic attack. In up with the passives, a 15% damage reduction for her allies in a 4-tile radius, and she can sacrifice 10% HP for further reduction up to twice per turn. On higher tiers, we see a 3-tile AoE heal, attack up, damage up, which costs 30% of HP, and may get boosted to further add the Radiant Blessing. Lastly, resolve and the ability to automatically gain the buffed state whenever she becomes injured. Honestly, wasn't expecting an almost pure healer, especially since Fallon was released a month prior. The attack and damage buffs are also fairly common, and I get the feeling that she's going around sacrificing HP for nothing. On the bright side, more time to save. And speaking of saving, let's talk income. Broke I was, broke I remain, so we start counting from zero and see how much we can save month for month. On the daily, we got the missions and the PvP for 65 look sites. I also buy the monthly card cause that's cheap and convenient and gives an extra pool every couple of days. But we can take this out for the free-to-play players in the back. On the weekly, there's the tower reset for another 380, and then we have the monthly login for 400, the PvP season for 450, and the battle pass for 250 free look sites. That is 30 pools per month for pure free-to-play, going up to 48 with the monthly card, and 53 with the addition of the battle pass. On top of these, we have the time-limited events and the Fool's Journey chapters, which are a bit harder to keep track of. So I went scouring the event announcements and made myself a little timeline. The fattest events are definitely the Spiral of Destiny ones, as they come with 3,500 look sites between the event missions and the playthrough itself. Sadly, we only got the Element route in September and Night Crimson in December. For how big these are, it's no wonder they take a while, but I'm expecting another route to come out on the anniversary this August. Then we have the Fool's Journey chapters, which have been coming out almost monthly since release, 2 at the same time near launch, then 1 at a time since last October. Looks like we skipped one between February and March, but the roughly 1,200 look sites they bring have been gifted to us in the form of a 10 pool instead. Then we have the adventure events, which we've been getting monthly. Being playthrough, interval, assist stages and the shop, they come in with roughly 1,800 look sites. Following this up, the guild events. It used to be just the Voyager Conundrum with its 800-ish look sites and no real schedule, but for the past few months it's been joined by the Eternum Star and they're just alternating each other. When it comes to the cyclical events, we've had the Voyage of Discovery in October and December last year, each with 16 pools totaling 2,400 look sites, and I'm expecting a rerun in May, if not late April. Fireside chat once every 3 months, but I need to recheck the rewards cause 750 seem little. Universal Derivation we've only had 2 runs of, December and February, so it's hard to say if we'll get a rerun in May, and I kind of forgot how many rewards this gave. Let's say 10 pools and adjust it for the next rerun. The new Tower of Adversity gave us a title that expires after 60-something days, so I guess this is another event that reruns every 2 months. This was really fun and came in with 2,100 look sites. Lastly, we have the freebies and the login campaigns, which we've been getting many of, and usually come with a free 10 pool. I'm expecting at least one more for the anniversary, maybe something for the summer, then another for the Danmeshi collab, but we are talking from August onward, so I won't be counting them for this estimate. If we look at the monthly income, we went from 7k look sites from last year to a massive 13,000 near Christmas and Night Crimson, which got scaled down to 10k in January, and it looks like the faucet kind of dried up for February and March, each month only bringing about 4k. When it comes to April, we are only halfway through, but we will hit 5.3k once chapter 15 comes out. For convenience's sake, I will average it all to 7k a month. But I also want to keep safe and try and keep some fates in the bank, just in case another couple of dry months come by. This puts us at 77 pools per month for pure free-to-play, 95 pools per month for the monthly card, and 100 with the battle pass. Bringing this back to the pools list, I'm just gonna run down the expected pools per banner to 45, and I should be hitting Flavia with 90, Aura with 315, and SP Inanna with 360, double the guaranteed. Fantastic! This means I have about 180 pools of leeway to spend on other units I like and still face the worst case scenario. That's up to 90 pools for Flavia, up to 90 more for Aura, another 90 available for Marseille, and then I'm going to save for the 180 guaranteed for Little G. One thing that might put a wrench in this plan is going to be the release of another Fateful Summon banner. Cause I had to skip Agatha, I missed out on Tristan, and boy oh boy would I love to put my hands on Pamina. Other characters my account is sorely missing are Momo for the damage over time buff and the fluffy tail, and Xavier for PvP, cause that 350 speed isn't getting outmatched anytime soon, and once you get high enough in the rankings, almost every defense has a Xavier Tiger combo, and I'm tired of having to skip those. I might have to skip Flavia as well, just in case they bring this banner back for the anniversary, but that means not touching the gacha until August. Well, I have plenty of characters I need to farm memory shards for, so some time off might actually do me good. Alright then, I guess that's gonna be it for me for the moment. Hopefully they're going to stick to the release schedule this time around. As always, thanks a lot for watching, let me know which units you're most excited about, and see you around soon. Ciao! Cause he